Hi there, I'm Chris from LendEngine, and in this video I'm going to show you how our self-serve access systems work. So that includes lockers and key boxes as well. So let's start off with the two different types of kit that we've got. One is the lock controller, and we can ship you just the lock controller, or if you're in the UK we can do you a full set of cabinets, so that's lockers and lock controller. And what we've got is a custom circuit board, which is a LendEngine piece of kit, and this is a 32-channel lock controller. And what we connect it to are standard off-the-shelf 12-volt locks, and you can actually use any 12-volt lock system. So you could perhaps open doors or anything else that will take a 12-volt pulse. We can also extend this 32-channel system to 64 by adding an extra board on it. This is powered just with a little 12-volt input from the mains, and this connects to the internet. So this talks to the LendEngine account directly. There's no other software in between the hardware and LendEngine. And then to control it, you'd have a kiosk. So this is a standard Android tablet, and you'd mount this on the lockers for customers to do their pickups and returns. So here, for example, we can go and we can put pin numbers on, and that's the actual circuit board down there beeping. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So the tablet connects to the circuit board. There's no internet there. It's entirely safe for the person, no personal information. And then the circuit board connects to the internet to get instructions from the LendEngine to open lockers. And you don't actually have to use the LendEngine. If you want to use our hardware, our circuit board, you can connect it to your own server as long as you use the right protocol. So yeah, if you wanted to just use the circuit board without LendEngine, that's fine too. So that's the lock and lock controller concept. And then the other one we've got is a keybox. So this is pretty standard heavy duty zinc keybox. This one's actually plastic, but the production ones are zinc, and you put your pin number in there, and that's a one-time passcode which is synchronized with the LendEngine, so you can get a code that's just for one particular user for their particular loan. So these are offline. There's a little battery inside, there's no Wi-Fi needed, generated code by LendEngine, entered code on here, and that pops open. So we'll show you that at the end of this video. Great, so let's drop into the actual setup of lockers with the LendEngine system and see how it works. First of all, in the LendEngine account, you'll need to go to Settings and Modules and turn on Self-Serve Automatic Lockers. The next thing you'll need to do is choose whether your lockers are going to be a separate site, like we have here, or whether they're just extra locations within your existing site. So a location is the locker itself, and the site is the physical premises. So one site, your main library, could have 2 or 3 lockers perhaps attached on the outside, so that if you close early and you need somebody to come and pick something up, you can just put it in the locker, give them a code, and then they can pick up. So that's a hybrid approach where you've got a manned location with a few lockers. The other approach is that you have an entirely 100% self-serve location, and that's what we've got here. And I've connected the lock controller, so that green circuit board has got this ID, and it's talking to the LendEngine. So that is entirely self-serve. And then within the locker model, you've got a number of different types of lockers. So there's 3 types. There's a dedicated locker, which means that that locker only has one item in it, and that item comes out. When the item's on loan, the locker's empty, then the item comes back into the same locker. So that's the dedicated locker model. And that can be fully automatic with no loading or unloading by your team, apart from when you need to do maintenance and repairs and things like that. The other option, the second option, is a flexible locker. And a flexible locker can take any of your items that match the locker size. So let's take the situation where you've got those lockers on the outside of your property where at the end of the day somebody still hasn't collected, you want to put an item in the locker. Those lockers need to be flexible because it might be one item this week, it might be a different item next week, and I'll show you that as well. The third type of locker is what we call a fixed pin locker, and that's where you can just set the pin number for that locker, and that's what it is until you change the pin number. Within a locker bank, so you might have 32 lockers, you can have a range of dedicated lockers, fixed pin lockers, and flexible lockers. Cool, so let's look at the self-serve site. We're going to go in and we're going to have a look at the locations within this site. These are your standard locations as you'd normally use in Lend Engine, but because we've turned on the locker module, we've now got the ability to assign a size to that location and a lock ID. So the lock ID just matches one of those little connections on the front of the circuit board, 1 through 32. And the size is something that you can configure all by yourself. So if we go to sizes here, you can have anything you like. It doesn't actually have to be a cabinet. It could be one of these locks connected to a chain or a bike lock, for example. And if you see what this is actually made of, we've got the lock body, there's a little release button here, and if I push that, it'll push this catch out. So that's the catch that would normally fit to the inside of your locker door, but you could also fit a chain to that. So it's pretty much up to you. And that's how we sort the location sizes. These you can change the order, and for the flexible locker model, in theory, an extra small item could fit in a small, medium or large locker, and the system will try and put it into the smallest locker that item will fit, leaving the larger lockers for larger items. So that's where you can drag and drop these into size order. Cool, so that's setting up some locations, some sizes. We've actually got a couple of models here. Lockers A1 and A3 are dedicated lockers, which means they're assigned to specific items. So the Black & Decker drill lives in A3, and it comes in and goes out. And that's the item we'll borrow. Let's go to loans, and we'll go to Locker Manager, and we can actually see what's going on with the system. So here's the Black & Decker drill in Locker 3, and if I grab Locker 3 and I force it open with that little thing there, the Lend Engine screen is polling the system fairly regularly, and you can see now that Locker 3 has opened up. If I leave that open for more than a minute or so, so this is somebody forced the door open, the circuit board will alarm and you'll get an email as well. But we're not going to worry about that now, we're just doing a bit of maintenance. So let's say that the Black & Decker drill is in that locker, it's all ready to go, let's borrow it. So let's go view this item on the member site. We will borrow it now. Pick up today, in fact let's return today as well, fairly straightforward. Add that to the basket and reserve. So because this is a dedicated item and it's in its locker, I've got a collection code. That has been emailed to me as a member as well. I don't need to log on when I go to the screen. All I do is go to the tablet on the front of the kiosk. Let's get that so you can see it. And we'll go to collect, and we'll put the pin in 677388. 677388, go. So that has pinged open, which locker 3 that one is, and then it's saying close the locker there, and then it'll process the checkout complete. If I refresh this screen here, you can see that it's on loan, and Chris Tanner checked out the loan at that certain time. What it's now sent me is a return code. So you can give this return code to anybody to come and return your item, pick up your item. Let's bring the item back. So we'll go and we'll click return, and we'll put the return code in, 740011, go. It'll query the Lend Engine to see what items are due back. There's a Black & Decker drill there. Can't quite see this on screen, but you get the idea. So I choose what items I need to return, and it's saying open A3 because it knows the Black & Decker drill goes into A3. Now it says load the item and close the locker. So we'll do that. Checking in, please wait, checking complete. If I refresh that, we can see that this loan is now closed and checked into self-serve location, locker A3. So that's the self-serve process. Pretty straightforward. The next thing we'll demo is the loading of a flexible locker. So this is a locker that would normally be empty, and when somebody borrows something, you can say, let's put it in that locker. So let's go back to admin, and we'll go locker manager. We've got an item in A1. I think I'm going to move this out so that we can use this as a flexible locker. So we're going to move this item and we're going to put it just into the storeroom, which happens to be in that site. Move it out. We can also see that locker A1 is dedicated item, so let's unassign that. Let's make this a flexible locker. So settings, locations, A1, edit, and then we'll unassign the tap controller. Okay, so it's a small locker, A1, so I can only borrow items that are small. Let's have a look and see what items we've got. We've got a tap controller, and on the check-in, check-out is where we choose which sites it's available from. Let's say we can borrow it from anywhere, and then it's going to fit in a small, medium, or large locker. Currently available lockers that match are over there. Cool. So now we'll borrow this. It's in the storeroom, remember. And we'll borrow, and let's say we're going to borrow again today. Pretty straightforward. Borrow it for a week or a day even, and reserve. So because this item is not in a dedicated location, I don't have a pickup code yet because it needs to be loaded by staff. So let's go admin, loans, and locker manager, just so you can see what's going on. There's nothing in the dedicated item yet. The other approach, or the one we'd want to do when we're managing our library, is the loan manager. So what have we got to do today? We've got to load this item into this locker. We can also see collections due today and tomorrow, the next 7 days, any returns due. The loan manager is a really pretty useful screen. So for reservation for this Chris Tanner, its current location is in the storeroom, and it's proposing any suitable locations for the item. And because it's a small item, the only locker that's free, that's small, is A1. So we'll load it into A1. The lend engine knows that the locker's closed, so let's go and actually load the item. We'll open up locker A1, and which one is A1? It is this one. Whoop, I just missed it. That opened up for us. And then what we'll do is we'll put the tap controller in the locker, and then we'll close it up like that. Locker's now closed. We want to send an email to the member saying item is ready for collection. Just have to move this so you can load it. There we go. So that's loaded into A1, and I've just received an email with my pickup code. Let's go to the reservation, and now that there's a pickup code, you can see it's where it was before. So that one was that one was sent when we put the item in, when we loaded. Let's go and collect it. So collect 754499, go. Ping, that's opened the locker, and it's saying, which way, there you go. Please close the locker when you're done. I'll close that. Can't do it with one hand. Bit tricky with one hand. There we go. That's in. And then the tablet says, come on. I think I need to do that a bit more cleanly. And done. So, now we've got a little error there. Why is that? Not quite sure why that's not closing, but you get the principle. I won't try and debug that on this video. It might be a setup problem on my end. Was that locker 1? Yeah, that should be good. Maybe I've got a wire that I haven't fully connected. Then the return process is exactly the same as for dedicated lockers, except for the fact that the system dynamically assigns which specific locker you want it to return to based on the item size. So there we have a dedicated locker and flexible locker. And then the final thing I was going to show you was a fixed pin locker. So if we go locations, any one of these locations, it's where you choose the size, choose the lock ID, and then if you wanted to, you can allocate a fixed pin. And that will override all of the automated numbers. And you could just put that in for maybe cleaning materials or something you just wanted to give to a specific person without a loan. So yeah, that's fixed pin option. What else do I want to show you about lockers? Oh, let's say that problem of the collection didn't work and there was some physical problem with your lockers. Maybe somebody had broken a door or something like that. You can still check out the loan as normal. So let's go to Loan Manager and we'll go to this reservation and you can just check it out as normal. So you can override that. And then let's just show the return. 750011. There's A1. Because it knows that A1 is empty and A1 will fit the item. And the item is now checked in. Refresh that and that's closed. So that's the flexible lock process. You can have up to 32 locks on a control board. We've mentioned that. 64 locks per control board with an extension. You can have as many locker sites within your library as you like. So each site could have up to 64 locks. So that's quite a lot of options. I think what we might do now is we might actually go into some admin system. So what you're looking at on screen is the Lend Engine admin. And I'll open the Locker Manager just to show you what's going on dynamically. It says lock faults here because I've got nothing plugged in. I've only got 2 locks on my demo system. Let's say you're now a technician and you want to go and service the item. We can go into admin on the kiosk. So we put our config or admin code in. Is that right? One more. And now it gives us all these extra buttons here. So we can view the lock status. So we can see that we've got A1 and A3 plugged in and they're closed. I can open A3 just by hitting that and it goes red because it's just been opened. So that's just a open one manually and now it's closed, it's gone green. When you're first configuring the system, you plug them all in, you do a detect locks. That runs through all of the locks and it says, okay, we've found 2 locks in the system, which is good. You can set administrator pins, so we're now at sort of a deep configuration level. You can set a lighter administration level, which is just opening and closing lockers for your technicians, and each technician can have their own pin numbers. Up to 4 here, but we can add more if you need. Customize the home message, so when people first view the kiosk, you can see the home message, and you can see that on the top of the screen. Welcome to the Lend library. You can also choose the language, so here we've got English, and we've got Welsh, and we can support any language that the Lend Engine member site supports as well. That's pretty much it from an admin perspective. Open locker by ID, open all lockers, configuration. In fact, configuration is where you set the site Wi-Fi details. So the control panel, the control circuit board connects to your site Wi-Fi, which then it gets the internet from. So that's where you put it on the tablet here. We're running an app called Fully. So you might have noticed that there's no browser controls, there's no URL, there's nothing on here that the member can access. It's a fully locked down tablet. And the app that we recommend and we use is Fully. and there's instructions for setting up fully as part of the locker guides. Great, so that is an overview of the locks. Now finally we'll go into the key boxes, so that shouldn't take a second. Let's go settings, sites, and I've got workrooms here, which is another site which is separate somewhere else. And if we go to locations and show me the workrooms locations, I've got a whole load of test ones that I set up, but the specific one I want to show you is the workshop room key item, which I've put into a key box. And this key box has got a unique ID, which is this number, and the key box is coded for your specific library. So any codes that are generated are valid only for this box for that period of time. Let's go to the Locker Manager, and because I'm now looking at the Workrooms site, I'm looking at the Workrooms locations. This item is a dedicated item. It can be a flexible item, it can be a fixed pin item, just like the other lockers, but we're going to use dedicated. And in the locker at the moment is the workshop room key. Because I'm admin, I can see a one-time code that's valid for right now. So let's go 329433, enter. Now, maybe I haven't coded it for this library. Let's have a look. I think I might not have coded it for this library. So I can't demo that, but you get the concept. And let us now borrow something. Let's borrow this workshop room key. View on the member site. We'll borrow it. Continue for me. And let's borrow it for yesterday until Monday. And reserve. Okay, so this is a slightly different view. You can see we've got a keybox code. I think that is the code that we just tried. 329433. Yeah, so I haven't actually coded this to the library, and I think that's the problem. What you do to code this is you connect with a little USB on the bottom and connect your phone to it. You can set the library code, set the time, and then it's set up, ready to go. The battery lasts, we're currently looking at sort of 6 to 9 months. We're seeing real world testing should be longer, but that's what we're saying conservatively. So that is a lockbox. Now with a lockbox, because it's offline, the system doesn't know that the item's been checked in or checked out. So quite often what you might want to do is just let that run, let the loan run. You don't even have to check it out. But if you want, you can get your members to do the check-in on their phone when they've brought the item back. So then you move it to check-in, and it gives you the keybox code, and you check into keybox. So it's a slightly different flow from lockers because the keybox is offline. Great, well I'll stop there because that's plenty for you to soak up. If there's anything more you'd like to know, then have a look at the lockers section on our website or email support@lendengine.com. Thank you.